Dad Quiet Revenge.
The deputy sheriff's knock came at 6:30 a.m. while I was under the hood of my 1967 Mustang Fastback. I heard that official rap and knew immediately it wasn't a neighbor asking to borrow tools. The sound cut through the morning stillness of Maple Street like a blade. When I wiped the grease off my hands with an old shop rag and opened the garage door, there stood a young deputy holding an eviction notice with my name on it. My name is Bradley Thompson. I'm 58 years old and I spent 30 years as a county circuit judge before retiring 3 years ago. After my wife Sarah passed 4 years back from cancer, this modest 2-story house on Maple Street in Austin and that cherry red Mustang in the garage became my whole world. Well, that and my daughter Carol, standing across the street by a shiny black BMW 5 Series. My son-in-law Victor Reynolds was grinning like he'd just won the Texas lottery. He had his iPhone out, recording everything with the casual cruelty of someone who thought he'd already won. When he saw me looking, he shouted loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear, "Time's up, old man. The house belongs to us now." Carol stood next to him in an expensive-looking burgundy dress, staring at her designer shoes. My little girl, the one who used to sit on my lap during court recesses asking endless questions about justice and fairness, wouldn't even look at me. The morning sun caught the diamond bracelet on her wrist, something I'd never seen before and definitely couldn't afford on a judge's pension. I turned back to the deputy, keeping my voice level despite the rage building in my chest. "May I see the documents, please?" The young man shifted uncomfortably, his crisp uniform making him look even younger than he probably was. "Sir, I'm Deputy Timothy Burke. I'm just doing my job here." "I understand completely, Deputy Burke." I took the manila folder and opened it right there on my front porch, using the same methodical approach I'd applied to examining evidence for 3 decades. What I saw made my blood run cold, but my judge's training kicked in immediately. It was a quitclaim deed, supposedly signed by me on April 15th, transferring full ownership of 8047 Maple Street to Carol Thompson Reynolds. Everything looked official at first glance: notarized seal, proper legal formatting, Travis County letterhead. Everything except 3 glaring details that screamed fraud to anyone who knew what to look for. First, the seal was crooked. In 30 years of signing thousands of legal documents, I never once placed my official seal at anything but a perfect 90-degree angle to my signature line. This one was tilted about 15 degrees to the right, like someone had been nervous when they applied it. Second, my signature was close but fundamentally wrong. The person who forged it had gotten most of the letters right, but they'd missed the little upward flourish I always add when crossing my T's. It's been my signature quirk since law school at UT, a habit so ingrained I couldn't stop doing it if I tried. Third, and this was the smoking gun that sealed their fate, they'd used my old seal design. I updated my official judicial seal 18 months ago when I reorganized my home office after retirement. This document was supposedly signed in April 2024, but it bore the design I'd stopped using in late 2022. I looked up at Deputy Burke and saw something familiar about his earnest young face. "Deputy Burke," I said slowly, studying his name tag and features. "Didn't you intern at the Travis County Courthouse a few years back?" Judge Patterson's chambers. His eyes went wide with recognition. "Yes, sir, Judge Thompson. Summer of 2019. You ran the mentorship program for college students. That's right. You gave a very thoughtful speech at my retirement ceremony about how the program influenced your decision to pursue law enforcement instead of law school." The blood drained from his face as he realized what he'd walked into. Across the street, Victor had stopped recording, his confidence wavering as he sensed something was going wrong with his perfect plan. "Deputy Burke," I said quietly, handing him my folder containing authentic documents, "I need you to look at these papers very carefully. Compare them to any legitimate document I signed during my years on the bench. Pay special attention to the seal placement and signature formation." I handed him my folder containing the original property deed, my current seal impression, and recent bank documents bearing my authentic signature. This eviction notice is based on a forged document I've spent 30 years examining fraudulent papers in my courtroom. This is amateur work. Deputy Burke studied both sets of documents with the thoroughness of someone who'd been trained to look for details. I watched his jaw tighten progressively as he saw what I'd seen immediately, the inconsistencies that no legitimate document would contain. "Sir," he said finally, his voice taking on the formal tone of official police business, "given these significant discrepancies, I strongly recommend you contact an attorney immediately. This matter clearly requires investigation by the proper authorities." Victor was walking toward us now, his earlier swagger replaced by barely controlled panic. "Hey, you can't just ignore official paperwork. We have every legal right to be here. That deed is legitimate." "Step back, sir." Deputy Burke's voice cut through Victor's bluster with the authority of someone who'd learned to handle confrontational situations. "This situation is now under official review. Any interference with this investigation will result in your immediate removal from the premises." Victor's face flushed red, but he stopped advancing. Smart move. Deputy Burke might be young, but he carried himself like someone who knew how to handle trouble. After Deputy Burke left to file his report and begin the official investigation process, I expected Victor and Carol to leave as well. Instead, Carol broke away from her husband and approached my front door, tears streaming down her face in what appeared to be genuine distress. "Dad, please," she sobbed, her voice taking on that pleading tone I'd heard 1,000 times when she was a child asking for something she wanted. "This is all Victor's fault. I didn't know what those papers really said. He told me it was just estate planning." I looked past her theatrical performance to what she was holding in her manicured hands, a brand new iPhone 15 Pro in a titanium case. Those retail for about $1,100. On the screen, before she noticed me looking and tilted it away, I caught a glimpse of a confirmation email. Air France. 2 passengers to Paris. $6,800 for first-class seats. "Go home, Carol," I said, my voice flat and emotionless. "But Dad," I said, "go home." I stepped back and closed the door, then stood there listening to her cry on my porch for another few minutes before Victor called her back to the car. The BMW's engine started with that expensive purr of German engineering, and only after I heard them drive away did I allow myself to feel the full weight of what my daughter had tried to do to me. I walked through my house slowly, really seeing it for the first time in months. The living room with its comfortable leather furniture and built-in bookshelves lined with law books and legal precedents. The kitchen where Sarah and I had shared morning coffee for 25 years before cancer took her. The dining room where we'd celebrated Carol's birthdays. Her high school graduation. Her college acceptance to UT Austin. This place I'd bought 35 years ago when Carol was just a dream we talked about in bed at night. Where my wife and I had raised our daughter. Where we'd celebrated holidays and weathered storms. Where I'd comforted Carol through teenage heartbreaks and celebrated her achievements. Every room held memories that Victor and Carol had been prepared to steal along with the deed when had it all changed. I forced myself to think back through the past 6 months, really examining the pattern of Carol's visits with the same analytical approach I'd once applied to complex court cases. The first visit came in January, right after New Year's Day. She'd shown up on a Sunday afternoon with an expensive box of cookies from Swedish Hill Bakery downtown, the kind that cost $40 for a dozen. "I'm sorry we haven't been around more, Dad," she'd said, settling onto the couch like old times. "Victor's been so busy with his investment firm, and I've been helping him with client relations. I've been so genuinely happy to see her that I hadn't questioned why she'd suddenly remembered I existed after months of barely returning my phone calls. The warning signs were there, the expensive handbag, the designer jeans, the casual way she asked about my financial situation, and whether I was managing okay on my pension. The second visit came exactly 1 week later, and this time she'd brought papers. "Dad, I've been thinking about your estate planning," she'd said with concern that seemed genuine. "You've got everything organized, right? I just want to make sure you're protected if something happens." She'd had official-looking documents about power of attorney updates and beneficiary changes. I'd glanced at the headers, seen what appeared to be legitimate letterhead from Austin Legal Services, and signed where she pointed. After 30 years of reading legal documents professionally, I'd gotten careless with the ones my own daughter brought me. Trust is a dangerous thing when it's misplaced. The third visit, Victor had come along for the first time since their wedding 2 years earlier. He'd wandered through my house with the casual entitlement of someone evaluating property for purchase, running his hands along the crown molding in the living room, checking the hardwood floors for wear, examining the kitchen appliances with calculating eyes. "This place has got to be worth, what, $700,000? Maybe $720,000, he'd asked, his voice carrying that fake casual tone people use when they're fishing for specific information. "Prime Austin real estate, established neighborhood. You ever think about downsizing? All this space for one person seems wasteful." I'd laughed it off at the time, made some joke about them prying the house keys from my cold, dead hands. Victor had laughed too, but his eyes hadn't joined in. They'd stayed cold and calculating, already running numbers in his head. Now I understood the full scope of their deception. Every visit, every document, every casual question about my finances and health, they'd been building toward this moment. The forged deed wasn't a sudden, desperate act. It was the culmination of months of careful preparation, the final piece in a puzzle they'd been assembling since the beginning of the year. I sat in my home office, surrounded by the legal books that had been my companions for 3 decades, and picked up my phone. I scrolled to a contact I hadn't called in over a year, Nathan Fisher, a real estate attorney who'd handled several property disputes during my time on the bench. If anyone in Austin understood deed fraud, it was Nathan. He answered on the second ring, his voice carrying that distinctive lawyer's wariness. "Bradley Thompson," he said. "What can I do for you?" "Nathan, I need the best fraud attorney in Austin. Someone who specializes in document forgery and family financial crimes. Someone who won't be intimidated by slick operators who think they're smarter than the system." There was a pause, the kind that comes when a lawyer realizes he's about to hear something interesting. What kind of fraud are we talking about here? The kind involving forged property deeds and family members who think a retired judge won't notice amateur hour. "Diana Walsh," Nathan said immediately, his voice taking on that tone lawyers use when they're recommending someone they genuinely respect. "She's expensive, but she's worth every penny." Former FBI white-collar crime division, now handles complex fraud cases in private practice. "Her office is downtown on Congress Avenue. I'll text you her number." "Thanks, Nathan. I owe you one. From what you're telling me, you're going to need someone with her expertise." "Good luck, Bradley." After I hung up, I sat in my garage next to the Mustang and really studied the forged deed again. Someone had invested serious time in this deception. They'd studied my signature carefully enough to get most of it right. They'd researched notary procedures and legal formatting. They'd even managed to obtain my old seal somehow, probably during one of those innocent visits when Victor had wandered through my house asking questions. But they'd made critical mistakes because they fundamentally underestimated me. They saw a 58-year-old widower living alone and assumed that made me vulnerable or confused. They forgot I'd spent 3 decades in courtrooms watching people try to manipulate the legal system, learning every trick, every tell, every desperate move criminals make when they think they're smarter than everyone else. I called Diana Walsh's office and scheduled a meeting for 9 a.m. the next morning. Then I went back to work on the Mustang, letting the familiar routine of mechanical troubleshooting calm my mind while I planned my next moves. The carburetor needed adjustment, and there's something therapeutic about solving problems you can actually fix with your hands. Diana Walsh's office occupied the entire 15th floor of a gleaming glass tower on Congress Avenue, the kind of place that charges clients by the square foot of marble in the lobby. The receptionist offered coffee while I waited, which I accepted out of professional courtesy. Even when your world is burning down around you, some habits die hard. Diana herself was younger than I'd expected, maybe 45, with sharp gray eyes and the kind of calm competence that comes from handling difficult cases without unnecessary drama. She moved with the precise efficiency of someone who'd learned to read people's lies for a living. "Judge Thompson," she said as we shook hands in her corner office overlooking the Austin skyline. "Nathan Fisher spoke very highly of you. Please have a seat." "Just Bradley now," I said, settling into a leather chair that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. "Haven't worn the robe in 3 years." "Once a judge, always a judge in my book," she said. Opening the file I'd scanned and sent ahead, "I've reviewed the documents you provided. This is quitclaim deed fraud, textbook case. Walk me through exactly what happened this morning." I laid out the timeline methodically, using the same structured approach I'd once applied to examining witness testimony. Carol's pattern of visits over the past 6 months, Victor's increasingly pointed questions about my finances, the moment Deputy Burke appeared on my porch with that fraudulent eviction notice. When I described spotting the forged seal angle and the outdated design, Diana leaned forward with obvious interest. "You caught those discrepancies immediately. I've signed thousands of legal documents over 30 years. You develop an instinct for authenticity the same way a banker learns to spot counterfeit currency." She smiled with the kind of expression lawyers get when they realize they're working with someone who actually understands how the system operates. "This makes my job considerably easier." The deed is dated April 15th, allegedly notarized by Linda Martinez. Have you contacted her?
Not yet.
I thought I'd wait for professional guidance. Smart approach, let's pay Ms. Martinez a visit this afternoon. If the notarization is legitimate, we have one kind of problem. If it's forged, or if the documents were switched after notarization, we're looking at serious criminal charges. 3 hours later, we sat in Linda Martinez's modest office on South Lamar Boulevard. The space felt like stepping back in time, wood paneling from the 1970s, metal filing cabinets, and the lingering scent of old paperwork. Linda was a woman in her early 50s who'd been notarizing documents in Travis County for over 20 years, the kind of thorough professional who'd built her reputation on attention to detail. When Diana showed her the quitclaim deed, Linda put on her reading glasses and studied it with the careful attention of someone who takes her work seriously. "That's my seal," she said slowly, turning the document to catch the light better, or rather, it looks exactly like my seal. She turned to her computer and pulled up her digital records. April 15th. Yes, I definitely notarized a document that day for Carol Reynolds, but it was a power of attorney for medical decisions, not a quitclaim deed. The silence in that cramped office felt heavy with implication. "You're absolutely certain?" Diana asked, her pen poised over her legal pad. "Completely certain. I log every single document I notarize." Linda pulled up her electronic records and pointed to the screen. "Power of attorney for medical decisions, standard form." She said it was in case her father had a health emergency and needed someone to make medical decisions on his behalf. Linda's face had gone pale as she understood what she was looking at. Someone either used my seal on a completely different document, or they switched documents after I'd notarized the legitimate one. "Either way," Diana said quietly, "this constitutes document forgery and fraud." We left Linda's office with a sworn statement and copies of her meticulous records. In Diana's BMW driving back downtown, I stared out the window at Austin traffic while my mind processed the full implications of what we'd discovered. "They planned this for months," I said finally. "Every document Carol asked me to sign, every casual conversation about my health and finances, they were building the infrastructure for this theft. Most sophisticated fraud happens over time," Diana agreed, navigating through the afternoon traffic on Mopac. "The question now is what else they might have attempted. I strongly recommend hiring a private investigator to dig into Victor and Carol's finances. If they're desperate enough to forge property documents, there's usually more criminal activity beneath the surface." She gave me a name, Ronald Peterson, a former Texas Ranger who now specialized in financial investigations. His retainer was $5,000, which I authorized that same afternoon. 2 days later, Ronald called with preliminary results that transformed this from a family dispute into something much bigger and more dangerous. Victor Reynolds claims to run an investment firm called Horizon Capital Management. Ronald said over the phone, his gravelly voice carrying the authority of someone who'd spent decades investigating criminals. "It's registered as an LLC, but there's no legitimate business activity. What there is, however, is a clear pattern of cash deposits from multiple individuals totaling $280,000 over the past 18 months. I felt that familiar cold sensation in my gut that I'd experienced in court when testimony revealed the true scope of a defendant's crimes. "Investment fraud?" I asked. "Classic Ponzi scheme operation. Victor's been promising investors 200% returns in 12 months through cryptocurrency investments backed by proprietary blockchain technology. There is no cryptocurrency platform, never was. He's been using new investors' money to pay small returns to early investors while spending the majority on luxury living. How many victims? 9 investors so far, mostly professionals, 2 doctors, a dentist, 3 small business owners, a retired teacher, and 2 engineers. People with disposable income who wanted to get in on the crypto boom without understanding the technology." Ronald continued reading from his report. "Victor's been paying for that BMW lease, a $3,200 monthly apartment in downtown Austin, European vacations, and expensive dinners at restaurants like Uchi and Barley Swine. Your daughter Carol has been actively involved as well." That hit harder than I'd expected. How involved? Her name appears on promotional materials as Client Relations Manager. She's attended investor meetings, provided reassurance when people got nervous about delayed returns. Bank records show she's accumulated $38,000 in credit card debt over the past year, using your address as collateral without permission, which is illegal, but the banks didn't verify ownership. After Ronald hung up, I sat in my workshop processing the full scope of Victor and Carol's criminal enterprise. This wasn't just fraud against me. They'd victimized 9 hardworking people, destroyed trust, and stolen retirement savings that those families might never recover. The next week, Diana filed a comprehensive civil lawsuit to invalidate the quitclaim deed and prevent any sale of my property. Simultaneously, she referred all evidence to the Travis County District Attorney's Office for criminal investigation. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks out, with Judge Gerald Norton presiding, a man I'd known for 15 years, fair and methodical, with absolutely no tolerance for legal games. 2 days before the hearing, my phone rang with Carol's number displayed. Dad. Her voice was high and panicked, stripped of all pretense. "Federal agents came to our apartment today. Securities and Exchange Commission. They had questions about Victor's business, wanted to see investor records. They kept asking about cryptocurrency platforms. I see, Dad, please, they're talking about criminal charges. Victor could go to federal prison. You know, people in the legal system, you can help us." I thought about Dr. Patricia Mills, one of Victor's victims who'd invested her entire retirement savings of $45,000. About Carl Hoffman, the retired teacher who'd trusted Victor with $25,000 he'd saved for his granddaughter's college education. "Carol, I haven't practiced law for years. I have no influence with federal prosecutors. But you must know someone. Please, Dad, I'm begging you. We're family. Do you remember last January when you came over with those expensive cookies?" I interrupted. "You said you were sorry we hadn't been spending time together." Silence on the other end. I was genuinely happy to see my daughter. You know what you asked for instead? Estate planning documents that would eventually give you control of my house. The past 6 months, every visit, every conversation, you were systematically preparing to steal my home and leave me with nothing. Her breathing was ragged now, real panic replacing calculated manipulation. We're not family anymore, Carol. Family doesn't try to leave each other homeless. Family doesn't forge documents and defraud elderly parents. You made your choice when you decided my house was worth more than our relationship. I ended the call and turned off my phone. The hearing went exactly as Diana had predicted. Judge Norton reviewed our evidence, the forensic handwriting analysis showing 97% probability of signature forgery, Linda Martinez's sworn testimony about the switch documents, the financial records proving Victor's Ponzi scheme operation. Victor's attorney, Howard Mills, attempted every legal maneuver in the book, but facts are facts. The quitclaim deed was declared fraudulent and void. All property rights remained with me. Norton referred everything to the DA's office for immediate criminal prosecution. 6 weeks later, at the sentencing hearing, Victor received 4 years in federal prison for securities fraud, plus 2 additional years for document forgery. Carol received 18 months supervised probation with mandatory community service and counseling. That evening, I sat on my front porch watching another Austin sunset paint the sky orange and pink. My house, my home, exactly where it belonged. Deputy Timothy Burke stopped by around 7. Judge Thompson, he said, wanted to thank you for that lesson in document examination. Made me a better officer. You did excellent work that morning, Timothy. Trusted your training when something seemed wrong. After he left, I walked to my garage and looked at the Mustang, finally running smooth after months of patient weekend work. Some things could be restored with skill and patience. Others were damaged beyond repair. 3 weeks later, a letter arrived from Carol. I read it once, 4 pages of apologies, explanations, and requests for forgiveness. Then I folded it carefully and placed it in my desk drawer next to the court judgments and the property deed bearing my name. Maybe someday we'll have that conversation about redemption and second chances. But not today, not until she understands that actions have consequences, that trust once broken requires years to rebuild. Justice isn't about revenge, it's about balance, ensuring that actions carry appropriate consequences, and that the system works fairly for everyone. I'd spent 30 years trying to achieve that balance for others. These past months, I'd successfully fought to achieve it for myself. Standing in my garage, running my hand over the Camaro's primer-coated hood, I felt a profound sense of completion. Victor was in prison. Carol was learning about consequences. My house remained mine. The 9 investors would receive partial restitution through asset forfeiture. The system had worked exactly as designed, and I'd received exactly what I deserved: my home, my dignity, my peace, and the satisfaction of knowing that experience and wisdom had triumphed over youthful arrogance and criminal greed. Sometimes the most dangerous enemies are the ones who share your blood, and the greatest victory isn't revenge, it's protecting others from the same betrayal. A man's true wealth isn't measured in property or possessions, but in the wisdom to recognize deception and the strength to stand alone when family becomes the threat.